Hello, I'm Alexandra J. Johnson with the Entheos Academy for Optimal Living. Today I'm chatting with Julie Zipper on her and Christine Hassler's course, How to Merge the Mystical and the Practical. Julie is a former airy fairy hippy dippy, an agape licensed practitioner, creator of Astro Zen meditation CDs, and also the host of the weekly YouTube show Astro Zen. If you'd like to merge the mystical and the practical, you can sign up for the course below. Enjoy. Hello, Julie. It's so great to be chatting with you today.
Hi, Alexandra. It's so good to be chatting with you too.
I love your energy and I love Christine's energy, and I'm super thrilled for this class.
Yes, I am as well, and we love your energy.
Ooh, nice.
The love fest.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
Nice.
All right, so there's so many questions that I want to dive in today, but I want to start off with the Wonder Twin Soul Powers. Give it to me. What are those?
Wonder Twin Soul Powers. Okay, so we all have a mystical side within us, and this is the side of us that, opens up to intuition, opens up to a oneness consciousness, surrenders to the great flow of life. And then we all have a practical side within us. And this is the side that, channels all this goodness, this God consciousness or this universal consciousness, whatever one is calling it, and puts it into form, puts it into action, whether it's paying the rent or accomplishing a goal. That's the practical side. And so we call them the Wonder Twin Soul Powers because what we noticed is that usually people are living a little bit more on one side than the other. And we find that when you bring them into balance, they really do affect enormous flow and manifestation in people's lives. Mm-hmm. I think that answered your question. Did that answer your question?
That was perfect. So the practical and the mystical. Mm-hmm. And somebody watching this, they're going to be like, know which one they lean towards. Can you give us kind of like a guidance of when you're really far in the mystical and when you're really far in the practical and you might want to come back to integration?
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, in the first week of our class, we walk people through a lot of questions so that they can get a feel for what that is for them. But I'll give a couple of examples now, namely me and then Christine, because we are prime examples before we activated our Wonder Twin Soul Powers of living in an imbalanced way. Yeah. So the mystical. For myself personally, I'm very into astrology. I love tarot. I believe in fairies. I love the multidimensional universe, and I very much so live in that. I meditate every day. I'm a practitioner, so I pray with people for a living. Surrender is my middle name. I go with the flow. I'm the kind of person where, if money's needed for something and it's not there 2 minutes before, I just, step into this surrendered state and open myself up for the divine guidance and receive it. And boom, there it is. Maybe, hopefully.
Nice.
Yes. However, I've learned to affect that in my life, and where the imbalance was for a long time is I would continually come up against rent being due, continually come up against projects not being finished or completed all the way. So I was very imbalanced towards the mystical. Now, Miss Christine, who is an extremely can-do-it kind of person. She's very into the details of life. She had a very high-powered job before she became a life coaching counselor herself. Mm-hmm. And boy, she could meet deadlines. She could write papers all the livelong day. She could get things done. However, it was letting go, letting go of control, surrendering, accessing that intuition that was her growth edge. Mm-hmm. And so as she learned to grow and develop that side of her, then she came into this greater flow and was able to soften a little bit more, just like I was able to get a little bit more, stand up straight. I was too soft, right?
Right. And is there like a balance? I mean, can we really find balance between these two? Or is it a constant kind of refinement? What's the...
Well, we can absolutely find balance. And what I find to be true is that it's an ebb and flow. And so there are times in my life when being mystical is where I want to be, and that's what I want to play in. There's times when being practical is more of what's being called for. But if I don't know how to be it or to activate that side of my nature, then I'm floundering. But when I know how, then I can activate it and affect the change that I want to do or demonstrate whatever it is that I want to demonstrate.
Right.
Yeah. Did that answer your question?
No, that's so great. It's like having the two soul, what is it? Wonder twin
soul powers.
Like having those there for you to access, and you consciously choose which one you want to play in.
That's right. So like, I don't think it's a 50-50 split every single second of the day, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I like that. It's very empowering to know that you can dive into the mystical, and then also when you need to get stuff done, that you can dive into the practical. Like there's a well-rounded wholeness. It feels very good to me.
Oh, good. I'm glad you say that. Yeah, it's very empowering. I think sometimes people find themselves in this victimhood consciousness and not knowing how to make changes in their lives. You know, they see that they want to, but they feel disempowered. And to me, really activating these two sides of ourselves moves us out of any sense of victimhood consciousness and into an extremely empowered way of living.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, for me, I always kind of I would live more in the vision, kind of the mystical, the feeling realm. Like I knew where I wanted to go, but then when it came to like showing up every day and doing it, I had to learn that skill. So this is a great context. It's super, super exciting. Yeah,
I had to learn that skill as well. Very glad that I learned it too. Because, you know, when we're in balance, that's how we're being best of service. You know, it's really no service to the world when I'm just sitting and meditating all day long. You know, I'm not helping others. Yeah. But when I activate that practical side and I build my business and I do my website and I show up for my clients, that's being of service. Mm-hmm. You know, and on Christine's side of things, her being practical all the live long day, you know, and meeting deadlines and doing her contracts, that only served her so far. It's when she opened up to the mystical and let the divine idea, a bigger vision, a greater vision for her life flow through her. And now she's helping thousands of people every day.
Brilliant. So,
I say.
So I know you're going to talk about this in the course, but if you could give a couple tips for how to start rocking our practical and our mystical, like right now, somebody watching, like, I want to start doing that now. What would you recommend?
Mm-hmm. Well, for the mystical side, if you don't already have a meditation practice, that's the first thing that I would recommend. And a meditation practice doesn't have to look like sitting cross-legged, you know, oming. It can look like just taking 5 deep conscious breaths, just being totally present with what is. Actually, that would be my invitation for the mystical. Take 5 deep breaths exactly where you are. And just let go of your idea of what's happening, your idea of what needs to happen, and just be in the now moment. That's what I would invite for the mystical. And for the practical, what are some steps? Oh gosh, Christine, where are you?
Channel her in.
Yeah, for the practical. You know, that's so funny because you're catching me off guard. I don't know what I would say for the practical. A tip for someone. Christine's always good with these grids and lists and, I know. This is good. Chunking down, this term chunking down. So when you're in the mystical, you often have these big lofty visions and the hardest step is the first step. And so if we think of, you know, I want to write a book, right? That's really, the far end of the vision. Yeah. So you chunk it down, you bring it down. What can I do today? What can I do this week? What can I do this month? And you bring it down until you get to, you know, what can I do today for myself? Oh gosh, Christine, I hope.
Awesome. I love that. That's like the best thing, I think, for me too, kind of that baby step.
Yeah.
Like, what's the baby step? Because for most of us who live in the mystical, then the practical is like, okay, what needs to get done now so that in 6 months or whatever, that book is done. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's like that baby step. I think in the mystical we have a problem of kind of just like keep visioning and actually not doing the work.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We need that earth element, and we need to know that it's possible. And when we chunk it down to a small, tangible step, we know we can do it. And in fact, it's really easy when you break it down that small and that simply.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you find that most people get like stuck? Where do people get stuck in kind of this integration? Like what stops people from kind of really embodying the practical and the mystical?
That's a great question. I think sometimes people have a fear of becoming something that's not who they really are. Like, for instance, you take Christine, she's a very together person. She has a very together life. And sometimes people that fit that category would be afraid of becoming maybe a little bit more hippy dippy or becoming this person that just zones out all day when that's not truly who they are. And to that, I would say by activating these two wonder twin soul powers, you actually become a fuller expression of who you are. So not only can you have your life together, but you can live this bigger vision of your life, this universal vision of your life, and not just a small egoic version of your life.
Right.
And then, of course, for the mystical people, I think that they're afraid of becoming rigid or controlling or egotistical when they take on these things, or not letting spirit through. However, it's the ultimate way to allow spirit to come through by giving it a form to fill. And as soon as you give it a form, it fills it, and that's when it begins to overflow.
So I love that. The form, is that like a schedule, accountability? What is that kind of form, just to kind of go there a little bit more?
I think it is accountability. I think it's commitment. What are you really committed to? Because it's not just finishing a book by March the 13th. The commitment is I'm committed to honoring this creative baby that wants to be birthed. I'm committed to living my fullest life. And when you get that commitment, then you can take these steps that honor that juicy vision, instead of this idea that you're getting lost in the details or the practical side of things.
Right. So then holding on to that vision as you're doing the practical things.
Yes, absolutely. The vision is what comes first, really. When tapping into the mystical first and allowing that to be the driver. Yeah. And the practical becomes the car. How am I going to get there? Right. Well, I've got to have a car. I've got to have it, my GPS set. I've got to know where I'm going. That becomes the whole practical experience. The mystical, though, is the being that's within it. It's the spirit. It's the fuel that's within it.
Right. So I love this, the to-do, I saw it on the course page, to-do being your to-do list being a mystical experience. I love that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of what I was saying before, how, if I look at my commitment from an egoic space, right? Like, let's say let's go with this book idea, right? I want to finish this book by March the 13th. That's an egoic commitment. Where did I get that idea? I don't know. I'm saying I got it from the ego. It just looked like good. That's what I think is a good time to launch a book. However, if I turn within in my meditation time, I open up to the divine vision for my life, the divine idea for this book, the divine or the universal consciousness idea for it. I might actually get that the date isn't important. What's important is that I show up every single day, or that or that fall is really speaking to me. I don't know the exact date, but there's something about fall. So in this way, I allow this mystical fuel to fuel my to-do list. So when I'm creating my to-do list, it's not about me. It's about the great I am. It's about something greater than me. And so as I'm writing the to-do list, that just has a different energy to it. I can get behind that. I can honor that and serve that and show up for that. Where if it's just about me, some days I don't need to show up for me,
Yeah.
Or I don't want to.
That's brilliant. I love that. Very cool. So what about there, it seems like in our culture now, people are so busy and there's such a stress. People are just stressed and overwhelmed. What would you recommend for people who are stressed and overwhelmed in the mystical and the practical? What would you recommend them to do?
Mm.
Obviously, this is all going to be in the course, but we're just getting a sneak peek.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's interesting because there's a stress and an overwhelm from the mystical side, and then there's a stress and overwhelm from the practical. So if you're out of balance with the practical and experience stress and overwhelm, usually that's an unwillingness to let go, right? It's being in that control, wanting to control, and not wanting to surrender. If you're in the mystical, being stressed and overwhelmed is oftentimes being caught up in it's too big of a vision. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent. So it's almost being in the unknown that sometimes is stressful or overwhelming. So So what did you say? What are tips to, what was the question?
Just tips to kind of work with that stress and that overwhelm from the mystical and the practical.
Right. So from the mystical, the tips to deal with it, to bring yourself, to ground yourself, would be to chunk down, right? Take this big vision and break it down until you get into a step that you can take today. Yeah. Also, something that a mystical person would do naturally is spend time in nature. Nature is a huge grounding force, and oftentimes when you're swept up, that's exactly what you need, that earth energy to ground you and anchor you. When you're in the practical, and in that stress and overwhelm, right? The 5 conscious breaths. Just let go for 5 conscious breaths. You don't have to let go for the whole day. You don't have to let go of things forevermore. Just let go for 5 breaths. Let go of your idea and your thought, and just experience that stillness just for a little bit. And then that can influence the rest of your day, and you can grow from there.
I love it. So great. Well, thank you so much for all of your wisdom. I am super jazzed about this course. I think it's a constant process for me of being in the mystical and the practical, and I know a lot of people watching, and it's such a huge offering to the world. So I'm very excited.
Well, thank you so much, Alexandra, and we're excited too. I'm sorry that Christine couldn't be here to reveal her great practical nature. But we're super excited. We're really ready to help people start to live that more expanded life, where they can be of even greater service with all their gifts and talents that they have.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love you and Christine together too. Like, you guys are your own twin superpower goddess rock stars.
Yeah, we're kind of like the caricatures of both of those in a way. You know what I mean? It's and she's just her answers would have been totally lasered. It would have taken 5 minutes.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.